If you were to look at a map of Luzon and trace the journey that we are about to make, you would find a half-moon of towns of southern Rizal and eastern Laguna. A garland that gently circles a lake, the largest freshwater lake in the Philippines, the Lake of Bae. This great body of water has since time immemorial been source of livelihood, means of transportation, where spring waters flow from many tributaries. The Lagoon of Bae, sparkling with two great mountains, Makiling and Banahaw in the background. Together, these natural landmarks have given the Arc of Towns a spectacular setting. A natural setting that has nurtured both heritage and art. This journey begins in the ancient pilgrimage town of Antipolo. Here in the Sierra Madre foothills, one came to pray before the miraculous Nuestra Señora de la Paz y Buen Viaje, the Dark Virgin of Antipolo, guide and protectress of the great galleons that crossed the Pacific, sailed to Acapulco and back. In May, devotees would take a boat up the Pasig, ride a carriage to a takeoff point in Taytay, and finally by hammock or on horseback, reach the town where they would stay 9 days for the novena, summer picnics to Hinulugang Taktak, and the other joys of then bucolic Antipolo. Just a few kilometers away, overlooking the lake, are the oldest known examples of Filipino artistry, the Angono petroglyphs, etched in the rock 4,000 years ago. A legacy of mankind among the UNESCO World Heritage Sites. Anthropomorphic and zoomorphic figures, a turtle, a fish, a stylized human, silent sketches from a time when the need to create art and record the world was already an irresistible urge. Time does make its own interesting arcs and circles, for these petroglyphs were discovered by renowned Angono painter Carlos Botong Francisco, national artist. His murals have a dynamic sweep, a seductive sense of color that makes his most popular works arresting evocations of our history's great moments. Angono as a town that nurtures art, not only in the field of the visual art, but in music as well. The songs of Lucio San Pedro echo such nostalgic images of Filipiniana as the Duyan and the Simbang Gabi.
Kaya sasabihin ko nga sa iyo na talaga I love Angono so much that the surrounding area of Angono is really very inspirational, very conducive to composing.
The result is a body of work that mirrors a lost innocence, a longed-for simplicity.
Sa aking pagkapasyal doon sa Dalampasigan, nakikita mo yung paglubog ng araw, ang paglubog ng araw ay talagang lumigbigan simoy ng hangin, At yun yung nakakapagbigay sa akin ng ideya na yung paglubog ng araw na yun, sisikat naman ng buwan dito sa silanganan. Yan lahat ng yun, nalarawan niya sa aking musika.
A beloved town figure, maestro, even in his advanced age, still continues to teach the youth of Angono. Nearby in Binangonan, another national artist lived. Far from settling for ordinary genre scenes, Vicente Manansala would go on to become a prime mover in the field of figurative expressionism. His canvases, whether they depict folk life or genre scenes, combine lyricism with monumental dignity and power. In the other towns of Rizal, you will see how the arc of heritage and art continues drawing the visitors into the past. The town of Morong was founded as a mission in 1586. The first church burned in 1612. And the site was moved to the hilltop promontory where the present church stands, a church dedicated to Saint Jerome. The soaring, majestic facade was built in 1853, one of the most splendid examples of Philippine Baroque architecture. The first-level main entrance is flanked by pilasters. Pilasters, too, mark the second level and the window of the choir loft. On the third level, a niche which used to house a santo of the patron, Saint Jerome. Atop this niche, the seal of the Franciscan order, the crossed arms of Jesus Christ and Saint Francis. All over are stone flowers. Inside the church, pillars support the choir loft, topped with a corbel depicting a stylized dragon head, a Chinese touch. The Via Crucis tells the story of Christ's passion and crucifixion with both piety and poignance. The wonderful thing about the Church of Morong is how artists have contributed their work for the greater glory of God through the ages. The four evangelists were painted by Botong Francisco and his assistants Vicente Reyes and Francisco Senson. With no oxen around, Botong endowed St. Luke with a carabao instead. From earlier periods come the Santos, Nuestra Señora del Rosario, and early Saint Jerome, and in the baptistry near a meditation chapel, a relief of the baptism of Christ. It seems that the people have a flair for ornament, whether in stone, wood, paint, or sound. Even in the celebrations of life's milestones, the festive arcos welcome brides, visitors, and newborn babies. The old stone church of Baras honors Saint Joseph, an important structure that shows what churches must have looked like 300 years ago. What the church lacks in size, it makes up for with its air of untouched authenticity. Carved pillars support the choir loft. And the holy water fonts have blue and white bowls of the Chinese ware. Gems of sculpture enrich the side altars. Saint Francis receives the stigmata in this relief. On the main altar, a host of Franciscan saints around the patron, Saint Joseph. But the most charming scene depicts Santa Elena and her son, the young Emperor Constantine, on the topmost niche. Here is the origin of our Santa Cruzan, an apt tribute to the Church's treasure, a piece of the true cross that Reina Elena brought back from Jerusalem. In the neighboring town of Tanay, we find the Queen of Rizal's churches. The present structure was completed in 1783. Stone santos bless the facade with their presence. San Ildefonso, San Francisco, and San Domingo. The latter two with the seals of the Franciscans and Dominicans above. Inside the church, a grand hardwood tabernacle from an earlier church decorated with the same Solomonic columns that grace St. Peter's in Rome. The 5 altars are exuberant examples of the Philippine Rococo style. In one of the retablos, a moving depiction of the Pietà, the Virgin, a powerful expression of controlled pain, holding the small broken body of Christ, a silent monument to the Mater Dolorosa's grief and her son's comforting, if departed, presence. The Via Crucis of Tanay is a national treasure. The Way of the Cross in 18th century Philippines, complete with spectacles, tambuli horns, bolos. Innocent spectators are distinguished from the Pharisees and soldiers who glare with bulging eyes and scowling mask-like faces. Did the carver wish to tell the devout that Christ's passion was a very real everyday occurrence? Outside, a timeless serenity and elegance mark the stone convento. The arc of heritage and art continues as we leave the lakeside towns of Rizal. Driving through mountains to Laguna, the lake is a constant presence. The expanse of hill and mountains, past Lanzones orchards and bamboo groves, and into Pakil. The Church of Pakil is home to the Virgin of Sorrows, patroness of the sick and the infirm. Scholars surmise that the pre-Hispanic healers attracted the sick, and the Spanish missionaries quickly shifted the devotion to the Birhen ng Turumba. So named from the swaying, falling motions of the lame as they approached the ancient healer, singing their prayers and shouting, "Turumba!" The Virgin assuages the pain of the infirm. The large crucifix near the vestibule depicts this suffering in a graphic, unbearable manner, probably inspired by 16th century plague crucifixes of Europe. Grotesque depictions of human suffering. Disturbing as this vision is, it is humanized in the smooth patina on the Cristo's knees and feet, worn smooth from reverent lips and touches of the prayerful. If you want to get a feel of how old towns must have looked, sit in front of Pakil Church and view a classic plaza complex. Here, the church faces the municipal hall. And the homes of prominent families. In one such home lives the painter and one of Pakil's own, Danny Delena. An important contemporary artist. His paintings mirror class struggle and the need for change, a modern note in this otherwise old setting. The San Gaspar family across town bestows charm and artistry on toothpicks, fans, and other utilitarian objects carved from soft wood. A charming example of folk art, wood whittled and shaved to add whimsy to everyday life. In nearby Paite, carving has become an industry. The town derives its name from the paet, or chisel, prominently displayed at the entrance of the town. The church dedicated to Santiago Matamoros is the eternal proof of this ability, as well as the ability of its painters and artisans. In the vestibule, a depiction by the artist Jose Dance of the heavenly cosmos. Paradise. Purgatory and hell. In turn, edifying, enlightening, and horrifying. A lesson in catechism writ large with familiar images. On the opposite wall, two depictions of Saint Christopher. One was discovered behind the other older one during restoration work. A joyous celebration of Filipino physical types and symbols. Religion continues to be very much a part of Paite life. The celebration of Holy Week is marked by a procession of santos. But no ordinary santos are these. They weep, raise their symbols, perform timeless gestures and movements. A wordless but motion-filled communication of the lessons of Lent, animated by hidden wires and wooden mechanisms. If the carver's art is preserved in these formal statues, then it is in the craft's work that its survival depends. Paite is filled with workshops where orders are finished in an assembly line manner by the menfolk. But the women too have their own orders, and they are often busy making taka toys, boldly shaped and colored papier-mâché and alive with an exuberance that can only be called folksy. In little ateliers all over Paite, other artists have turned their backs on mass production, new forms, new approaches to wood. In their efforts, we see a further development of Paite's sculpture tradition. Nestled on the slopes of Mount Banahaw is the town of Mahayhay, caught in an eternal moment. Scholars believe that the mountains of Mahayhay once had rice terraces as grand as Banawe's, also built by our ancestors thousands of years ago. Traces still remain within the coconut groves that now clothe the mountainside. In the Spartan Ermita, there hangs an icon of Our Lady of Proteria, a painting that often guards the entry to Franciscan churches and conventos. Across this ermita, a pre-war botica. The original fixtures are still in place: glass cabinets, stained glass panels, Art Nouveau labels on the medicine containers. The Ordovesa house is one of the Philippines' oldest. The pitched, pagoda-inspired roof adds to the picturesque quality of Mahayhay. As do examples of 300 years of architecture. These lead to the Church of San Gregorio Magno, imposing, spare, monumental. It was completed in 1734 and, till the close of the Spanish regime, hosted high dignitaries of church and state. Three magnificent relieves are still in place, now grilled. Two crucifixions magnificent tribute to the Virgin, with all her attributes of treasures of ecclesiastical art and emblems of an enduring faith. Here in this mountain town. In the town of Lumban, gardens grow on yards of piña, husi, and sinamay. The womenfolk of Lumban are renowned embroiderers. With infinite patience, they coax needle and thread into blossom on yards of piña and husi. The next town on the arc is Liliu, famous for its shoemakers. Its oraro biscuits, its streams and lavanderas, It also boasts of the work of the painter Jaime de Guzman, who, with his province mate Danny Dalena, received the prestigious 13 Artists Award of the Cultural Center of the Philippines. A native of Liliu, de Guzman's contribution is a mural in the municipal hall depicting a creature that is at once bird and man, magical and powerful. Inspired by the Mexican muralist Siqueiros, the mural raises Liliu's humble municipio to the sublime. In the neighboring town of Nagcarlan, the circular cemetery evokes not death but continuance. Built by Father Vicente Velloc in the 18th century, this cemetery has an underground crypt where, according to lore, Nagcarlan's Katipuneros plotted against Spanish rule. The church is dedicated to San Bartolome and was built in 1752 and renovated in 1845, example of Laguna Baroque. Inside, two santos are most revered and treasured, a rare silver image of San Diego de Alcala and a relieve of the Virgin, attended by Saint Michael and Saint Francis, interceding for the souls in purgatory. In Pagsanghan, a 19th century arch welcomes you to Old Calle Real, lined with homes that survived the flames of World War II. One of these is the ancestral Ejército, lovingly restored by President Joseph Ejército Estrada. You might say that Pagsanghan allows for a break from heritage and art and culture. The journey takes one down through a fast-flowing river. Up a bend into swiftly coursing rapids. And finally to the falls. The end of the arc brings us to the continuing search for self-expression in Los Baños, on slopes once sacred to Mariang Makiling. It was renowned for what the old-timers called agua calienteng bukal, hot springs medicinal waters. No longer just a spa, Los Baños is now a university town, with the University of the Philippines Agriculture and Forestry School nestling on the slopes of Mariang Makiling. Studying in the campus is made all the more pleasurable by the lush greenery, the pockets of gardens, the sculpture of national artist Napoleon Abueva, and the architecture. The national artist Leandro Locsin designed some of the buildings on the campus. The Carillon Bell Tower, a standard feature of every UP campus, soaring above the trees like its mountain backdrop. Locsin also designed the auditorium. And the Searca dormitory. These Locsin designs add a contemporary note to the pastoral setting of UP Los Baños. It seems fitting that this journey, this arc of heritage and culture, should end here in the slopes of Mount Makiling, the legendary home of the forest Diwata Maria. Here in the Philippine High School for the Arts, students who choose to become artists can specialize in dance, drama, music, literature, the visual arts, or any field that allows them to grow as artists and as creative forces. In their chosen fields, here in this forest setting, the students of the Philippine High School for the Arts can grow into their roles as painters, musicians, actors, singers, dancers, writers, and in their work and the promise of creations to come, they are only continuing what others before them have done. In stone, in wood, in churches, in carvings, paintings. The arc of heritage and art that begins with a 4,000-year-old artistic expression in Angono finally ends in the creations of young Filipino artists on the slopes of Mount Makiling.